Today's guest is another person that I cold reached out to on LinkedIn maybe like 5, 6 months ago. So very happy that she agreed to come on to the show. Tracie, welcome to the Modern People Leader. How's your President's Day going?
Pretty good. It's not a holiday for us, and I'm so grateful to you, Daniel, and to Stephen for having me. I'm really super excited about this conversation.
Well, even though you didn't have the day off, at least you're
Um,
you're you're finishing the day strong with the podcast.
Absolutely. Then we're making street tacos, so pretty
Ooh,
pretty excited about that. Yeah, the
sounds
only way to
bomb.
go with tacos.
All right, so let's get into good news stories. Um, and Stephen, I'm looking at the notes. It looks like you have something prepared, so I'm going to let you go first.
Awesome. Well, it's not as good news as having street tacos for dinner, but it's not bad. We've had a nice warm weekend in Austin. If you pay attention to the news and weather, a couple weeks ago, the entire city shut down because it froze for a couple of days, and now it's literally in the 80s today. So it's just like beautiful. I'll take it, but also kind of confusing. But it was perfect because my girlfriend's family was in town, like her entire like immediate family, and they got some beautiful weather, and we ate at just a ton of the iconic Austin restaurants.
Like which
So
ones?
we went to Salt Lick.
Okay.
We went to Torchy's. So definitely got some. Sorry, excuse me. We did not go to Torchy's. We went to Taco Deli,
Okay.
and then we showed them like a newer taste of Austin. We took them to Loro and had some delicious food. So it was just to name a few. There are some others, but I can't off the top of my head remember. But great weekend all in all. So a lot of good news on my side.
That's
Tracy,
awesome. Last time I was in Austin, Torchy's was the last meal I had before I headed out on the plane.
their
So it
queso is
was years ago.
delicious.
So good. So
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
Do you want to go next, Tracy?
Oh, sure. It was I spent, let's see, I've been home for about a week. Before that, I spent several long days driving home solo from Florida. So I was pretty exhausted late last weekend and early in the week. So this weekend was just really kind of relaxing and spent time at home. And we planned a big trip with our kids. Our kids are all adult or adult-ish or on the way to being adult. And so we planned a big trip in 2020. Obviously didn't happen. So we split it in two and did Iceland last year. And then so I did all of the planning about traveling to places that I know zero about this weekend. And it took me all weekend, but it was really fun because it's very stressful. Like, hey, yes, we're going, but we have no idea where we're staying. So that was good. That was really good, really, really good. And some good news on the front of work. I have a almost 40-year person on my team, and
Wow.
she's been held just about every position in the offices in the company. And she's really being asked to do a lot of really, really new things and being working in a different way. And she's wholeheartedly embracing it. And I'm seeing it every day, which is really, really, really exciting to bring somebody new and help her learn a whole set of new skills.
That's a really cool story. So mine is I've been struggling with my good news stories, but I guess one of the benefits of having a small business and it only being two people is you have the chance to learn a lot of new skills. One of the things that I've been trying to tackle recently is sales. Like, how do I build, a pipeline of sponsorship opportunities? And I've been doing a lot of experimentation. The good news is I've finally found something that works. And yeah, there's no better feeling than like, experimenting, and then finally like, oh wait, this thing when I do it this way seems to get responses. I need to do more of that. So yeah, it always feels good having some breakthroughs like that.
That's awesome. I'm going to connect with you in my eventual entrepreneurial journey someday because that scares the heck out of me. But
Yeah,
good for
and
you.
it's
That's
nice to
awesome.
have Steven as a partner because he also has that entrepreneurial background, so I can lean on him every once in a while.
Yeah, it's definitely scary at the beginning, but it gets easier. Never fully goes away for me, but you get comfortable, you get more comfortable in the discomfort. is a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So Tracie, when we first met, I think that you said that you knew that you wanted to go into HR since high school. And that definitely puts you into the camp of guests that we've had on the show that are more intentional HR people versus accidental HR. So what's the story? Help us fill in the gap between the moment in high school when you had that realization to today as the chief people officer at the Granite Group.
So weird. I know, who when they're 16 or 17 is like, that is the career that I want to have. But I had an interest in business. I always had a really keen interest in business, and had an interest in psychology, and certainly an interest in people. And my aunt worked in what was personnel at the time for a law firm. And I had an opportunity to work with her a little bit and do some work over the summer. And for some reason, I was like, that's what I want to do. It kind of combines everything. So I went into college. I got a psychology degree, but concentrated in organizational psychology and really focused in that area. Went into college knowing what I wanted to do, and got an internship while I was at college. I worked for UPS during college, and then for 5 years after, and learned everything. And if there was to know, had some incredible mentors, and just kept going. And never, I had an opportunity to do lots of other things. I had an opportunity to be a CEO of a small company. I had an opportunity to do the rotation in UPS, and just always felt like this is where I belonged. And this is the work that I just love to do, even though I don't love all days. We all have those kind of days, but this is the kind of work that I love to do.
It's fun to hear the different stories from all of the HR leaders that we have on, and some of them have like the total opposite experience. They worked
Mm.
all around the business and then somehow found themselves in HR and ended up finding passion in the work. So every time we have somebody that's an intentional HR person, we make sure to call it out. I think the last person that we had on the show that had that same experience was Rich from Coursera. I think he said he knew in high school that he wanted to go into HR as well. So, um,
Yeah, interesting. I think it's actually a bit of a disadvantage these days, and I think I have to work really hard to make sure that I'm keeping up on things. And I sort of look back and wish that I had done a rotation, but I've learned about different areas of the business in other ways. But it's actually not something that I recommend to people. I'd recommend people getting all kinds of business experience first.
yeah, totally, totally. So, how, if you were at a family get together and somebody in your family asked, "What does the Granite Group do?" Like, what's the short explanation?
Yeah, so we used to joke, and we're trying not to do that as much, though I think it's still really relevant. We used to joke like, "Hey, we sell toilets," which is super true. I did a Disrupt HR talk on bringing sexy back to toilets, which was all about branding, which I know we'll probably talk a little bit about later. But you know, the long answer is we provide home comfort solutions. So we're in everything that's behind your walls and underneath your floor. But the way I usually explain it to people is, if you call a plumber, and we do far more than plumbing, but this is the best way to explain it. If you call a plumber, they come and look at your toilet, and there's something wrong with your toilet, and they say, you need a wax ring. I have one at the shop. I'll be back shortly. Well, the shop is us, and they're coming every day, sometimes multiple times a day, to get the products that they need to serve the homeowner. So our customers are largely people in the trades, contractors. We have 58 locations, and we have 15 retail facing locations. So we also serve the homeowners well. That's a really long explanation, but that's sort of, I could go into it for longer, but that's sort of the short definition
No,
or
that makes.
explanation.
I like that explanation. It's the shop where people go to when they need to fix a toilet or something like that. So why should me and Steven be jealous that you get to work at the Granite Group?
So one of the things that surprised me, I've been here for almost 8 years, and probably the reason I'm still here is just the way that our company looks at our people. Really puts people first, so much so that we put it in our tagline. Our tagline is "Great people, great products." Nothing about toilets, nothing about what we do, because we're really in the service business. And that comes from our CEO on down. I have an incredible CEO who's super supportive of not only me, but everyone in the company. And we really just do the right thing. And we have a few different mottos. We, no assholes, and we have do the right thing. And then our purpose is literally creating a durable growth engine for our people. So it's a stable company. We sell products that people will always need. We're always iterating them. We're always looking at what we're doing and how we're doing it, and we're always growing. So, good teams, great people, great leadership. Does that make you
Love
jealous?
it. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I think a lot of people would sign up for an employer that is a durable growth engine for their people. Like that, those seem like the things a lot of
Yeah.
people are looking for these days. And so
Yeah.
that definitely makes me jealous. Well, we have a lot of guests that come from the high tech world. Everyone always seems to be super interested in like what's going on in the high tech. And at my company, we have it just the way it turned out is at Workify, a lot of our clients are not high tech and they sit in what I would call more traditional industries. And
Mm.
so grocery store chains and cinema theaters, and we've actually had plumbing companies before. And I love those. I personally love the diversity of the different industries and the different types of businesses and what makes them run and what keeps their people engaged. And because it's very different to high tech. And while there's a lot of innovation in high tech, I believe there's a ton of innovation happening in these more traditional industries. And so for the HR leader that is looking for a new opportunity, maybe they're open to work, I'm curious, what would you tell them about considering a role in a more traditional industry or just a non-high tech type of industry?
I had this conversation with a friend the other day who works mostly in high tech and has, been downsized a few times recently, and had the clarity like, boy, if I could go back to that worked in a similar industry, if I could go back to that kind of industry, I would. And I think the pace and the growth and the opportunities that come from the tech side of the world, I think that's very attractive to a lot of people. I think that between the money and the potential stock and taking a company public and going through raising capital and all of the things that come along with that, I think that's very attractive to a lot of people, particularly HR leaders, because you get to do a lot of different things and acquisitions. And what I would say to that is just take a step back and what do you really want? Like, what do you really want in a company? Is it, for me, the most important thing, bar none, is a CEO that I could like and trust and that will support me. Number one, I cannot do my job without a strong relationship built on trust. And that's what brought me here. That's what keeps me here. And then is it stability? Is it working with a diverse group of people? What is it? Because some of those things that you can find in the tech sector are actually in our industry or industries that are like ours. You just have to look a little bit harder. And I've done, I think, 4 acquisitions since I've been here. And
Wow.
yeah, so there are lots of things going on. We're private equity backed. It's exciting, it's dynamic. We move really, really fast, which you wouldn't necessarily see from the outside looking in. But I would say explore it and give it a shot. And I've talked to a lot of people over the past couple of years who've like, maybe this is an area where I can see myself. I love it personally. This is what I like to do.
Yeah, no, and that comes through not only in obviously in this conversation, but kind of your posts and your activity on LinkedIn. And so you joined the Granite Group in 2015, is that right?
I did. Yep.
And what would you say is the biggest difference between the HR team now and what you inherited back in 2015? If you could boil it down to like one or two major things, what would you say those are?
But it's a whole other conversation. So I joined a team and I knew this. We had maybe 250 people and I had a person and a half, and I knew that. What I didn't know is it was entirely paper driven or mostly paper driven.
Oof,
So
wow.
um we were able to survive by leaning on technology, and we automated everything and that we could, and so forth. And now we're closing in on 800 people. The team's much bigger and is what I would call a modern people team, or on our way. We're almost a modern people team. We were very, very much a traditional HR team when I first started. So I think that's the biggest difference.
And can you share just for our audience? I always love a look behind the curtain. And when you say like just structure wise, is that what you're referring to? That shifted away from a more older school people team to now what you
Yeah.
have a more modern team. So what were some of the team changes that you made?
It's a lot on mindset too, right? And when I first started, the person who had been in my role previously had left just after a major downturn and knew all of these changes that needed to be made but couldn't make them
Hmm.
financially work. So I had a little bit more flexibility there. So it was not just technology, it was shifting a mindset, or mindsets from I'm going to do everything for you. Come talk to the moms of the company, right? Come, I'll fix everything for you. So more of, and very much the complaint department, very much the compliance police, very much old school. And I was that way for a long time myself prior to coming here. And then we just worked on it with the two folks that I had, and then we added to the team and added to the team and added to the team, changed our name a few years ago, really fully changed our mindset around that full time. And now we're coaches, consultants, and guides, and we help people to help themselves. And we aggressively, in a good way, work with our managers to make sure that they're equipped to handle the day-to-day things. We talk with our people all the time. We talk with our managers all of the time, and we're not seen as that department where people think occasionally we get new people coming in that had that experience before, but we're not on the whole seen as that department where it's go to die or people complain about.
Yeah, I love that. Consultants, what you said were consultants, coaches, and guides. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's more enjoyable for everyone, not
Yeah.
only the HR team, but the business when you were viewed as the compliance police. And I've also been in organizations where HR was viewed as kind of the compliance police. And it's not fun. And so you guys go through a massive transformation, and so how did did you have full leadership buy-in and support? And I'm asking these questions because I know a lot of companies are going through transformations right now. It
Mhm.
seems like anytime there is a downturn or recession, that's like the McKinsey's coming out, the consultants are coming out saying, you need to reorganize, you need to transform.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so what do you think were the critical success factors for you? Because that's a big deal,
Yeah.
taking a company that had family-owned roots and completely modernizing the way that the people function works. Like typically that's the last thing anyone wants to talk about in my experience. And your budgets are at the bottom of the barrel. And so it's like how like you just kind of stay in this stagnant way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm curious, what led to your success? What do you think were some of those critical success factors?
I could prove out, for example, when we did the tech overhaul, we had a like 51-page new hire packet of paper and we went to zero. And when we did that, I could prove out that this was going to save 3 hours of time for every manager and every hire. And we built a data analytics platform behind that. And I think the most critical factor to this all being a success is buy-in, not just from the leadership team, and that's great, and from my CEO, but it was buy-in from my own team. That was the
Mm.
most critical part. And what happened was I made sure that they not only were part of it, but they were leading parts of it. So our two people who didn't come from HR that were on the team at the time had just a little bit of experience, but they owned the transformation process, and they deserve a ton of credit, and they really learned a lot, and they really could be proud of what they achieved after. Like, look what I did. It was hard, but they did it. And so instead of hiring consultants, instead of hiring, the Mercers, the McKinseys of the world to come in and say, hey, you should do this. We're doing it ourselves. So we're outsourcing or getting rid of or somehow automating the day-to-day things. And we're doing the fun things and the strategic things ourselves. And this is every single person on our team is responsible for something.
Good for you. That just sounds like again, I can see and make that tie back to being consultants, coaches, and guides. And so for the companies that are like embarking on this journey of transformation, what would your advice be to them in terms of like how to start? Is it a top-down approach, a bottoms up, both? Like from your mind, like how do you begin to not only define the strategy for like how we are going to reshape our people team, but also the action plan and really kind of driving things forward in a meaningful way?
I think you start by learning yourself, whoever, whether it's a chief people officer or whoever is going to be doing that, you start by learning a lot and taking a lot of time to dive in. What are other people doing? What's working? What's not? There are tons of different communities out there that are great for this. And then I think it's really everybody. I think it's not necessarily top down. I think for a budgetary purposes, you obviously need to consult and make sure you have the budget first. But I think your most critical people to get involved are people that you may not think about, your people on the front lines. If it's a technology change, if it's a process change, if it's something, you need the folks that are going to be using the tool, the service, the technology, you need them bought in. And then if you do that, you create champions all throughout the organization. And we do that. We have 6 different regions, and we do that whenever we're going through something. We make sure we have somebody in every region, and then hey, look at this new initiative. Isn't it cool? And that sort of spreads by word of mouth. So I don't follow here's the process handed down from this person. We create our own, and then we move forward with that. But I think getting your frontline folks involved is the most critical part.
And so when you look forward to the end of this year and you're looking back, what are some of the projects that you're most proud of on the people team?
That we're working on, or that we did,
Yeah,
that we've done
that you're
already?
working on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the one I'm most proud of, because I think this has been like 3 decades in the making, but certainly has been my CEO's number one thing since I got here. And we've had lots of fits and starts, is we finally have about a dozen learning paths built. And so that is something that's going to serve as, and some companies who have a learning and development team, this is pretty easy. We have nobody in learning and development. This is just bits and pieces. We have a team of 8 bits and pieces of extra time from our team, that we're taking every position in the company and we're building a roadmap on, either if you're a new hire, everything that you need to know and do and learn for that role, or if you aspire to be in that position, everything that you need to learn and do in that role to get that role. So it's going to serve both. We're blending learning and development now. It's going to serve both as that roadmap for a new person coming on, and also be aspirational for somebody who wants to get there. And frankly, never thought we'd be there, but I have a couple of wonderful folks in the team they're Mackenzie and Abby are just awesome, and they've been working really hard and working with our team members and our managers on building those out.
Shout out Mackenzie and Abby. That sounds really cool.
They're great. Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind sharing, what are a couple of those learning paths? Give us a little I guess like peek behind the curtain. What are a couple of roles that have, completely different learning paths? Just curious what that looks like.
Yeah. So we have the way I describe it is sort of like office, and then what we call our branch system. So our branch system is, most of our folks work there. And that's, if you're a plumber, you're going in and picking up the products. That's where you go to. So the role that most people aspire to be in a branch system is a branch manager. You're essentially a mini CEO. You have your own P&L. You're learning everything that you need to know to run a company. You're running your own part of the company. So what we figured is, hey, we'll build a learning path for the branch manager, and then we'll work backwards. And then we found out as we're going through the process, which is important why you go through the process, that with the system we chose, we have Bridge, we couldn't do that. We had to build from the job with the least amount of things in it, and then built up. So we started with warehouse associate, and then we've kind of moved up into operations manager, and then we moved over into our showroom side of things that we're doing that. And then we're dabbling in some accounting things. So a little bit of everything, but by the end of the year, we're planning on having all of our jobs, which are 125 plus titles, mapped. So, and that will constantly change. It will constantly change because the things that you need to know will constantly change.
That's cool.
But
And I,
it's
and I
app-based, dynamic, and it's really neat.
yeah. And I bet there's some excitement with the team now that they have like a crystal clear understanding of if I start, you said as a warehouse associate, right? Like I can
Right.
work my way up and eventually I can maybe be a branch manager. Like I feel like that's an exciting prospect for a lot of your employees.
It is, and we've only soft launched it. We're gonna launch it either this week or next week, full on launch the ones that we have built.
And I'm guessing that as a part of that learning path, there's like, so how does it work? Like you start as a warehouse associate, you have a learning path to get to the next level, and then there's a gate that you have to pass through to sort of graduate onto the next role. Is that how it works?
Yeah, you actually get a certificate. So we build
Oh,
certificates in, so you've completed everything there is to know. So some people may want to stay in the warehouse forever. And where I think we need to get better is these lateral paths, which we have
yeah.
some, but we want to create that more of those. And so it's you can do it in an app, you can do it in a computer, we can print it out. We have some people that prefer that too. And it's the simple things like here's your safety videos, and the more complicated things like every day, here's the things that you're going to need to know. And don't forget here. And we're adding in here's a video on talking about your mental health at work, and here's a
Yeah.
video on our EAP, and different things like that that are important to people, and we're continuing to build out. So it's really been super fun to watch.
Yeah.
Super fun.
We had a conversation with Lindsay Lord she was formerly the CHRO of, uh, I think like one of the biggest franchisors of Jiffy Lube. And I remember at the time that we spoke with her, this must have been like, I don't know, almost 2 years ago now, but they were doing something very similar. And I remember her sharing some stories of people that had sort of worked their way up from that entry level position to then being,
Yeah.
I guess, the equivalent of a branch manager. And I don't know, it's always
Yeah.
cool to hear those stories.
We've got tons of those. We've got tons of those. So that's the other thing we're doing a lot more with storytelling, and we're doing a lot more with video, and to kind of share those stories.
Yeah. And speaking of storytelling, so, working in the toilet industry, I imagine that on the employer branding side or the talent attraction side, that you probably have to be a bit more creative, to create that employer brand. So I'm curious, as a company, are there one or two things that y'all are doing on the employer branding side?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I first interviewed, like I walked in and I think I took a note, Christine Song, I was watching something that she did, and she talked about like you can see culture. And she didn't phrase it that way, but if you walk in and you see an office that's super quiet, that's a red flag. But I walked into the interview process and saw these people love it here. They love each other, they love their jobs, and I don't use that word lightly. And so I went from really being very passively interested because I didn't know if I wanted to work for a company that sold toilets, and I only interviewed because they're literally 4 miles down the road and I had never heard of them, to like I have to work here. And so I think what I describe it as, I've worked a lot with my CEO on this. It took me a year to convince him to even, we had no social media presence to talk about the things. And I think all I did in coming in was just put a bow on an already awesome place. So we've done a lot of things, like we've entered contests, which, say what you will about different types of best companies contests, but they've been wonderful for us because it raised our profile in our local communities. So we've done them in just about every state that we're in, and we're in 6 different states. And so our people, our customers, our vendor partners can see that. We've increased our social media presence and tried to develop communities of people engaging with us. We get our CEO out there doing these great little videos, which he doesn't do them often enough, to kind of, so people follow him and see what he has to say, and just kind of raised their profile a bit. And so I don't think we have the same level of difficulty that a lot of companies do. And I don't think we have the same level of difficulty that a lot of people in our space do. It's challenging for us, and where we're still trying to crack the code is drivers. Drivers are super in demand, particularly CDL drivers, and we have a whole location that has a lot of CDL drivers. So we try to get real creative when it comes to those types of positions.
Yeah, I have a buddy who actually runs a company with his mom, and they are a shredding company. So they have a team of drivers that all need CDL licenses,
Yeah.
and he's walked me through the difficulty of finding like good people for these roles. So I I imagine, you have to get
It's hard.
creative.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the basic stuff. Pay well and offer people things that they want. For our CDL drivers, we recruited from over the road drivers because they work overnight hours, but they're home every day,
Yeah.
and tried to get real flexible with how they do their job within, what has to be delivered when, and same thing with our other drivers. But just the basic things work really well for drivers. It gets more complicated for some of our other roles. And then some roles like branch manager, we have no problem attracting people to because we have such a great internal pipeline.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned that y'all recently started building a social media presence. Is that on Facebook, Instagram? What are the channels that y'all are trying to grow?
Yeah. That wasn't us. That was our marketing team. And that was years ago. But we're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, because we have these really nice bathrooms and fixtures that play really well on Instagram. Twitter, most of our engagement, our best engagement happens on Facebook, and we're on LinkedIn too. And we
Yeah.
just started, this came from somebody on my team, just started to dip into TikTok videos. So just
Ooh.
started to do that for internal purposes. And so we're trying to use that to leverage with our potential candidates. So I'm not great on TikTok. We have people on my team who are, and my two girls, like, if TikTok went away, I have no idea. They would just probably go hide in bed for a week because, whenever we learned something new, it came from somebody on TikTok. So we're trying to figure out a way, like, how do we be there in a way that makes sense for us? And it may just be we use internal things a little bit at first, and then we use some for recruiting, like our trainees who tend to be younger out of school.
Yeah. TikTok is a different world. I still haven't totally figured it out myself, and I'm on social media constantly. But it sounds
Yeah.
like y'all are doing a lot of the right things. Like I think you mentioned that y'all are doing short videos with your CEO. There's this marketer that I follow who wrote a book called Founder Brand, and the entire book is about how the companies that are growing at the fastest rate are the companies where their founder has a great personal brand. And I feel like a lot
Hmm.
of tech companies are trying to even figure this out, especially like in the B2B world. To hear that a company in your industry, y'all are thinking about that, I'm sure that's extremely progressive for the industry. So that's great to
Yeah,
hear.
it is. And he probably won't listen to this. So I'm going to tell you this, and he'll kill me if I talk about this. But he called me one day and he's like, guess what? It's like, I got recognized in public. It's like, we were at this customer event and somebody came up to me and said, "Are you Bill Condren?" And I was like, "Was it a customer?" He's like, "No, it was just a regular person that follows me on LinkedIn." And so that's really, really cool. Like, and that's still novel. It's happened to him a few times, but it doesn't happen all the time. But that's to your point. That's how you build that brand. And he's got his own brand.
That's awesome. So for the HR leaders that are listening to this that maybe work for a smaller company, or they also work in a traditional industry, what are some of the steps they can take to start building out their employer brand?
I think it helps to know the audience. So, like, who are you trying to attract, right? And so if you're trying to attract young people and the only place you are is Facebook, then that's not going to work. And none of my kids are on Facebook. They're all in the working world in some way, and that just doesn't work. And that tends to be, as an employer, where we are, right? And especially in more traditional spaces like ours. And then I think you both talked a little bit about this, getting uncomfortable. Like, get uncomfortable yourself. The amount of HR leaders, the number of HR leaders who are not in social media in any sort of way is astounding. So it's really hard to understand what your company needs if you aren't out there at all yourself. And I wasn't much until, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and more acutely the last 3 years probably. But I think getting out there and developing your own, I choke on the word personal brand words. I don't like it at all, but like just get out there and follow people and learn and share some things, and that's going to help your company. If you're lucky enough to have a great marketing team or a branding team within marketing or people team, they can help you, but get out there and learn yourself and then push your company to be out there more.
So I'm glad we circle back to getting out there and just this topic in general, because earlier you mentioned the word community, and I wanted to come back to that because you are certainly very active in HR community development, at least based on your LinkedIn page and your experience. So you're a founding member of Chief, a founding member of Hacking HR, a founding member of CPO HQ, co-founder of Disrupt HR, co-founder of HR Rebooted. Like, we're doing one of these with the Modern People Leader. We have one community, and it has been a ton of work. I'm super, one of the best decisions that Daniel and I ever made. And so we're big believers in community, and I love that you're so involved. But reflecting on what you just said, there's still a lot of people in the people community, HR community, that aren't involved. And so why is community so important to you, and why should it be to the broader industry that we work in?
So I'm a really deep introvert. I think you can't normally tell that, except I don't know if the video is going to be at all. I'm beet red, right? Because talking about myself is really uncomfortable. So I'm a really deep introvert, and so I spent most of my life kind of not raising my hands, not answering questions, just with very few friends and zero networking, like zero. I think I went to a networking event once, like 10 years ago, no, 12 years ago, and then more acutely over the last few years. And I had the opportunity once about 6, 7 years ago to co-present a topic to public speak. And I was scared to death. And for some reason, I said yes, because I'd never spoken in public. And it went well. And it kind of unlocked another side of me that I just sort of went, you know what? I have something to say. Like, at first, who would want to listen to me? I have something to say, and I'm learning by sharing. And so I kind of took that and rolled with it, and then just used that as a learning experience. And wherever I couldn't find things, like particularly like communities, I'd build them. So I love learning about technology. I love learning about breaking the world of HR open and trying things new. So like hacking HR I was attracted to that. And Chief, because I'm an executive woman and I'm in a male dominated industry, I wanted to be a part of that. So I've wanted to be a part of things. They don't take a whole lot of time. And then with HR in the House and Rebooted and HR Rebels, which is like a community of like 1,000 people that just happens organically. And I just pop in every month or so for like an hour. And we created it just out of a need. And I love it because I always learn, and it's a very comfortable space. I don't have to be up in front of a bunch of people. I can just be on a Zoom with a few people.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Daniel.
No, sorry, you go, Stephen.
No, I was just going to say, like, I'm sure you've gotten a lot of feedback from people in these groups, right? Because these are like, industry changing groups that you've been a part of, and not only for the HR industry, but also for female executives. And what would you say, what are some of the unexpected benefits or the things that you weren't expecting to hear when you got feedback from other members in these communities?
I think I'll just say the unexpected benefit was I learned a lot about myself. I learned a ton about myself, and I developed incredible friendships, which if you asked me 5 or 6 years ago, could you be friends with somebody that you've never like met in person? I would have said you're absolutely no way. But I've met some of my closest friends through some of these groups, which is really personally and professionally meaningful to me. And the other thing is, I am so much better at my job. I am so much better for having these relationships with these people, not just in my life, certainly. I'm a much happier and all around healthier person by having these communities. 100%.
That's awesome. And so we have a theory that just the way that people in general buy things is totally different these days, especially when you think about buying technology for your company. Sometimes you're spending 50, 100, 150,000, maybe even more, depending on the size of your company. It's far less common for people just to go to Google, do a couple of searches, and immediately find whatever it is that they're looking for. And instead, we're finding it to be more community based. So now people are going into their different communities that they're a part of, who they now think of as lifelong friends in some cases, like yours, and are asking for recommendations from their peers. Would you say that that's been your experience as well?
100%. The first solo presentation I ever gave was on sourcing and selecting technology, and I talked about exactly that. And that was probably like 6 years ago. And you Google ATS, and you get like, I don't know, 7, 8 million results, and you can't trust the information because a lot of the results are sponsored or they're SEO, and so you don't really know what you're getting. So that's why I got involved in select software reviews, which is unbiased, why I got involved in CPOHQ. And so I think, I know I get asked a lot, and I think I do the same with my friends. And I have all of the, even beyond this, all of these different groups that I'm a part of, and we all share information beyond like looking for technology, but just during COVID. That's how HR Rebels was born before that, but that's how we became the big group we are. Just sharing information because there's nothing original in the world of HR. And, we shouldn't be gatekeeping the information that we have. We should be sharing it.
100% agree. And you mentioned that not only are y'all talking about technology, but you're talking about all sorts of things. So
Mm.
I'm just curious, like right now, February 2023, what's the hot topic right now? Like what are people talking about in these communities?
Yeah, and this is a tough one, but absolutely without a doubt, especially in the smaller groups of people, mental health of our team, and how it is just, we're trying to find ways to help people in because the need is just so great now. And so we talk about this a lot. We talk about our own pain that we've gone through, our own burnout from dealing with these things. So that's number one by far.
Yeah, I forget. I feel like it's come up with multiple guests, but there's not like HR for HR. I mean, there technically is for most companies, but it's not for whatever reason. It's just not the
Yeah.
same, and
Yeah.
it is a problem. There's so many demands when we have conversations with our guests, like before and after. And if you're open to it, we would love to have you come back and be part of a group conversation. And so many times in the chats before and after, like recording, we talk about like, God, like how stressed people are and just like the hard things that people are working through. And it's like, oh, we probably shouldn't spend too much time talking about this on the show, but I've got this really kind of unique
Yeah.
problem that I'm dealing with. And so for me, seeing these communities pop up and seeing the connection point that you made earlier, I think is a really, really important one. Like and I had never thought about it until I just heard you sharing. But since Daniel and I have created the Modern People Leader, my mental health has drastically improved. And in fact, if for the diehards, they probably remember us in 2020, our first year, we had an episode where we broke down burnout, and I like concluded from that conversation, holy shit, I am burnt out. Like this article is describing me. And so for me to kind of reflect to like mid 2020 to now, like
Yeah.
from that aspect, mental well-being, I'm in a much better place. And
Yeah.
not a lot, I mean, some things have changed, but not a lot. The biggest change has been the modern people leader in the conversations and the work we're doing here.
Yeah.
And so I totally agree with your comments there.
It's funny, Stephen. It's not funny. It's sad, but I had the exact same experience when I went through burnout as you did. I read an article. It was by Jack Kelly. I still remember. And I was like, oh no, that's what I went. And that was 2021, the end of 2021 into 2022, because we're an essential business and we had over 50 locations and I was running COVID response and it just didn't end. And then my mom died in the middle and it was just like, it was just the worst of the worst things, but I had to keep going. And then it was when things kind of quieted down on that
Yes.
I was like, what is going on? And now and it was my community, it was my husband and my family that helped, and like going to see AHA for the first time in 30 years and like doing lots of fun stuff, like totally
Uh-huh.
helped. But my community is what really, like, I really leaned on people to help kind of bring me back to where I should be, which is like I'm a pretty positive person most of the time, and I just wasn't.
Same. And it's such a weird existence because you're like, wait a second, I don't feel like I've always felt this way, and I no longer
Right.
feel this way. And in fact, I'm kind of dreading waking up in the morning and having to do this again
Right.
today. Like,
Yeah.
and so to the good news, and if anyone out there listening is having those feelings, like reach out to us,
Yeah.
reach out reach out to the people you know in your own community, because
Yeah.
your feelings are shared. And that's the biggest, like, the what I think finally helped me get out of my rut is just knowing that other people feel the same way, have felt the same way.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But man, when you're in it, it does not feel
Yeah.
okay.
It
So
doesn't. And I think it's conversations like these that really, really help, and knowing that there's a way through and you can not only kind of survive, but really thrive. And it can be like,
yes.
I'm knock on wood happier than I've been ever after going through like a really pretty not so fun time for a
Yeah.
long time.
Well, I feel I don't know what that experience was like for you, but I kind of do. So because I was going through something similar around the same time. And so, man, this is a topic, and Daniel knows that I am very passionate about this particular topic and mental well-being and practices and all of that. But unfortunately, we're at that point where we need to turn the corner and bring the conversation to an end. But before we do that, Tracie, we have a couple more traditions. The next tradition is rapid fire questions. So asking
Okay.
the same questions to every guest. And so I'm just going to jump in if that's okay with you.
Go right ahead.
All right. So first rapid fire question. How do you define a modern people leader? What are the traits and characteristics?
Yeah, this could be a much longer answer, but I think who's bold and brave, and like I talked about earlier, a coach, a consultant, a guide, and who questions everything, especially their CEO, who's willing to stand up and lead people first.
I love that, especially question everything, even the CEO. That's tough.
Yeah.
Next question. If you could go back in time and talk to a 22-year-old Tracie, what career advice would you give yourself and why?
Take more risks. I'm super risk averse and like to stay in my little bubble. So definitely take more risks and do more travel early on. Something I'm doing now, but I wish I did then.
Oh yeah, plus one of that. Last question, and this is still a new one, so we're still playing
Okay.
with the format. But do you have any shout outs in particular you want to give the people on your team? So, or if you just want to take the moment to shower your entire people team with love, that's okay also. But, we hear so many stories of the great work our guests are doing with their teams, and wanted to show everybody a little bit of love. So do you have any shout outs for your team?
I do, and I'll do this quickly, but I have three pillars on my team. My talent pillar, which is just Janet Rubin, our total rewards pillar, which is Janet Rubin, our talent pillar, which is Jeff Dion and Abby Ryan, and our people experience pillar, which is led by Monica Apgar, who's our people experience director and is awesome. And she's joined by Becca Milano and Tracie Couture and Mackenzie Jones. And I am so incredibly fortunate to have the team that I have. And I think the Granite Group's incredibly fortunate to have these folks because they just love what they do. They do it incredibly well, and they always lead people first.
Well, shout out to the Granite Group people team. Sounds like you have a good bunch there.
Very lucky.
I always, so I look at the publishing calendar, and this is the first time that we've had a lineup that extends all the way out until August, September. And the number one reason that that's the case is because we've been able to get recommendations from the people that we've had on the show. And it's because of this question that I'm about to ask you. But if we could have like just one or two people that you really admire, maybe you've worked with them in the past, maybe they're people that are in some of the same communities that you're a part of, like who are the one or two people that we just need to have on the Modern People Leader?
So I have like 100 of them, but I'm going to give you a couple of them. I don't know, and maybe you've talked to them because you've talked to a bunch of people. So Cassandra Rose, I don't know if you've spoken with her, she's absolutely wonderful. And Barbie Winterbottom, she used to be the CHRO of BIC and now is a consultant, and Julie Turney, who is HR for HR. She's out of Barbados, and Kayla Moncayo. So I could keep going, but those are some of my favorite folks, and I have lots of favorite folks. Oh, Melissa Doman. She's not an HR professional, but she talks a lot about mental health and wrote a book on mental health at work. So she's one of my favorite people. I'll send you both a list because I have like, I could talk forever about all
No, this is great. I'm going to go add them
great
all on
people.
LinkedIn right after this. I feel like I
Yeah.
might be connected to a couple of them. Some of the names sound familiar.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
All right. So on to our last tradition, which is one word or phrase close. And who wants to go first? And this is just a way for us to wrap up the show. It could be anything that comes to your mind. All right.
I'll go first. I'll go first. So mine is a phrase, and I'm gonna go with find community because I'm leaving this conversation with that just underscore the importance of community underscored. So I think we all need to find community.
I'm gonna say be bold and brave.
Love it. I love it. I'm gonna say this is a little bit longer. Reach out to someone on LinkedIn that you admire and connect with them, because you'll be surprised at where that can go.
Totally.
So true.
Neither Steven or I were active on LinkedIn until we started the podcast. And it's been surprising the amount of people that we've been able to connect with through LinkedIn and the power of just networking through LinkedIn. So +1 on that.
Cool. Pretty cool.
Guys, what an amazing way to spend our President's Day. Tracie, thank you so much for joining us. And Daniel, thank you so much for having the courage to cold DM Tracie or cold caller.
I didn't even realize that was full circle to the first thing that I said in the podcast.
Right? Yeah, that's so funny. No, and I'm so glad I took a break, burnout for a while and doing anything.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad to be back, and I'm so grateful that you reached out, Daniel, and so grateful that I got a chance to chat with both of you and get to know both of you a little bit better.
Likewise. Well, right. Tracie, have a great rest of your week, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Talk to you later.
Bye.